There's movement in Santa Clara that doesn't always blow up nationally, but if you follow this team closely, you feel it right away. And this is one of those days, because when the 49ers make another move in the secondary, it's not just roster depth, not just another camp body, not just off-season routine. This touches a real position battle, real pressure, and the kind of internal heat a true contender uses to get the absolute best out of its own players. And when that signal gets mixed with a huge offensive rumor, a defensive draft visit, and a plan that goes straight at the future of the offensive line, the message gets impossible to ignore. If you're feeling that too, stay with me. Jack Jones landing in San Francisco means a lot more than it looks like on the surface. On paper, it's a one-year deal, another addition after Nate Hobbs, more depth for a group that needed answers. But in Santa Clara, moves like this are almost never empty. When John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan keep stacking competition at a position, the message doesn't stay hidden for long. It goes straight to Renardo Green. And I'm going to say it like a fan who follows this team every single day. This feels like an internal challenge, a clear demand, a message sent without needing some dramatic press conference. Green has talent. Nobody's denying that. Shanahan himself made that clear when he said he believes Green can be a very good player and that he expects more from him. And that's the heart of this story. The 49ers do not look like a team giving up on Renardo Green. They look like a team trying to force the best version of him out into the open. Because last year something was missing, and good teams care a lot about this. Real competition. Green got the opportunity, stepped in with starter status, but he didn't have that environment where every practice makes you play like your chest is on fire. And when that's missing, especially for a young player, the risk of getting comfortable goes up fast. It doesn't even have to become laziness to hurt you. Sometimes it's just half a step of hesitation, a little less confidence, one read that's too cautious instead of aggressive. In the NFL, that already costs too much. Jack Jones comes in with recent production that doesn't wow anybody by itself. He got targeted a lot, gave up yards, gave up touchdowns, and the numbers are right there for everybody to see. But the Niners clearly believe there's another outcome here. Maybe they think the right system, the right rotation, and the right pressure can bring a useful player back out of him. And at the same time, maybe they understand that simply adding another experienced name to that room already changes the temperature in the cornerback group. That's what makes this signing matter. It's not only about what Jones might still give them, it's about what his presence, combined with Hobbs, could force Renardo Green to become during training camp. And if that plan works, San Francisco doesn't just gain depth. It gets a secondary with more life, more edge, and a whole lot more readiness for a team that cannot afford a weak link on defense. The second Alvin Kamara's name starts getting connected to the 49ers, the fan base goes straight into imagination mode. And that's not hype for the sake of hype. Some rumors pop up, make noise for a few hours, and disappear. This one doesn't. This one hangs around because it touches exactly the kind of player who can wreck a defense and take an already dangerous offense to another level. Put Kamara anywhere near Kyle Shanahan, and the whole league pays attention. The fit, at least from the outside looking in, is easy to understand. San Francisco loves players who can create in chaos, win in tight space, hurt you on the ground, and then hurt you again through the air like it's all one motion. That has always been Kamara's DNA. Even with the age conversation, even with the wear and tear concerns, his name still brings respect, explosiveness, and that feeling that one touch can flip a game. And that's exactly why this story has juice. Because this isn't just about adding another famous running back. It's about the idea of putting Alvin Kamara next to Christian McCaffrey in a system built on forcing defenses into conflict. Just imagine what that does to the other side. Who gets the main attention? Who releases into a route? Who attacks the edge? Who becomes the mismatch on a linebacker? That's why a rumor like this grows. It doesn't feel like random fantasy. It feels like something that could blow open the entire design of this offense. If this talk really starts picking up over the next few weeks, San Francisco is going to land right in the middle of one of the wildest conversations of the offseason. And that makes sense. Kamara is not just a recognizable name. He's one of the most productive offensive players in Saints history, a guy who built his career on changing games in multiple ways. When a talent like that starts drifting into the Niners' orbit, the story stops feeling small. And for a franchise that thinks big, every rumor with that kind of weight deserves to be heard with your pulse up. While part of the fan base is locked in on names that would blow up headlines, the other part needs to pay attention to these quieter moves too, because that's where a lot of smart draft work begins. Cole Wisniewski visiting the 49ers falls right into that category. It didn't come with superstar buzz, but it does feel like a front office trying to find value, size, and versatility for a defense that needs to get back to being intimidating. Wisniewski has the kind of profile that jumps out immediately. A 6'4", 218-pound safety, a long run at North Dakota State, then the transfer to Texas Tech, and a productive final season in 2025. He finished that last year with 78 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 6 passes defensed, and 2 forced fumbles. That tells you he was active, physical, and willing to show up in different layers of the play. He's not a defender hiding in the background waiting for the ball to find him. He gets into contact and tries to affect the snap. And that lines up with what the 49ers may want to rebuild in the secondary. A safety with that kind of frame gives you interesting possibilities in a system that values instincts, aggression, and the ability to answer physical football without losing range. The foot surgery that wiped out his entire 2024 season obviously matters, but that's exactly why these visits matter too. San Francisco is not just looking at highlights, it's trying to understand his condition, his fit, and how much of a reliable rotation piece he can become. This is not the loudest story of the day, but it's one of those stories that can look very different once the draft actually gets here. Because contender rosters also get built by finding the player a lot of people see as a role piece, but who grows fast in the right system. And if the Niners see that in Wisniewski, this visit stops looking like a footnote and starts looking like a clue. Now the tension rises in a different way, because this topic touches a nerve no 49ers fan can treat lightly. When the report comes out that San Francisco sees offensive tackle as a draft priority, but not necessarily in the first round, this stops being just a technical conversation. It becomes a debate about timing, conviction, and protecting the future at one of the most sensitive positions on the entire roster. It all starts with a truth nobody in Santa Clara can keep pushing down the road. Trent Williams is still a giant, still a player who changes the level of the offensive line, but the uncertainty around his future forces this franchise to think clearly, and contenders that think clearly do not always make the move the most anxious fans want to hear right away. According to Matt Miller from ESPN, the 49ers view offensive tackle as a real need, just not an automatic lock at pick 27. And that little detail says a lot about how this team is reading the board. Because using a first-round pick on a tackle sounds safe when people talk about it, but it doesn't magically solve everything. If that rookie isn't ready to hold up under heavy pressure early, the fix can become a problem. And a team that wants to compete for real cannot play around with quarterback protection or offensive line stability just to look aggressive on paper. Maybe the Niners' read is exactly that. Address the position, yes, but don't force the decision above the true value on the board. If the right name isn't there, this franchise could easily wait until pick 58, or even work other options later, and let that player develop the right way. But that strategy comes with risk too, and that's why this hits so hard. Everybody knows preparing for life after Trent Williams is not a luxury, it's a responsibility. You cannot keep pushing this conversation off until it blows up. And when you look at those day 3 picks, sure, there's room to take a shot on depth, but maybe not the easiest path to finding a real long-term successor. That's where the real tension lives. The 49ers are trying to balance contender urgency with long-term responsibility, and that balance is never comfortable. This is exactly the kind of decision that separates a good front office from a championship front office. It's not enough to see the need. You have to attack the need the right way, at the right time, without sacrificing other areas that are also screaming for help. So I want to hear the Niners war room in the comments. Would you go tackle in the first round to start preparing for life after Trent Williams right now? Or would you stay patient and try to solve that later in the draft? At the end of the day, the picture in Santa Clara is a team that is not standing still for even a second. There's internal pressure being built in the secondary. There's a major offensive rumor big enough to shake the league. There's a draft visit that could be hiding real value. And there's a heavy conversation about protecting the future without compromising the present. That's what contenders do. They don't wait for a need to turn into desperation. They move early, test paths, raise the pressure, and try to keep the window alive at the highest possible level. If you want to stay on top of every signal, every move, and every battle that could change the direction of these Niners, subscribe to the channel and come back tomorrow.